It's Kyle Coberline, a truck and RV sales professional at Bluegrass International Trucks, Buses, RVs, and Ideal Lease. We're in Kentucky. I came down to the 2022 Renegade Rally here at the Ridge Outdoor Resort. You can see the event center behind me. I had a ton of customers that wish they could have came. This was a top quality, top notch event. The people that organize this, the sponsors, I mean, they do a heck of a job. So I try to film as many of the presentations as I could so people could do a refresher, or the people that couldn't make it. And without further ado, you know, I'll attach one of the presentations to this intro and go from there.
Okay, so what is a Firefly system? Well, it's a multiplex system. So I just gave you all the information you need for what a Firefly system is, right? It was simple, we're good now. So basically what a multiplex system is it's an idea where there's a party line that's provided. Anything that's plugged into our network that we can see, we can communicate with no matter who the manufacturer is. So we can communicate with a Dometic or a Coleman Mach, we can communicate with a Magnum or a Xantrex inverter. As long as it's plugged into the network and we can see it, we can talk to it and integrate with it. So here's kind of an example of what a lot of you would see in your coach. You'll have the main circuit panel, you'll have a touch screen, and then you'll have various remote wall switches throughout the coach, and then many of you would have the Bluetooth module. So you get into your coach, you go to your touch screen, and you command a light to come on. What that's going to do is it's going to send that information to that main circuit panel. It's going to receive it, send it out, and then that circuit, whatever it may be, that light, AC, whatever it may be, is gonna become active and turn on. We will look here in a little while at where can I go and see, is the Firefly system sending and receiving that information, but something is preventing it from getting to where it needs to go. So like you're commanding a light to come on, and that light doesn't come on, there's a spot on the screen where we can get some information that might help you in diagging an issue. So these are some network wiring diagrams. So we will have a team of designers and engineers that will work directly with Renegade, and they're going to give us this idea of where they're going to install our hardware at time of production. So just remember, we're not there, we don't do the installation. So we don't know how they run the cables or the wires. This will just give you an idea of where you can find the different components in your coach. All right, so some of the different hardware that you'll see, that 7-inch color touchscreen, which many of you have in your unit. Question I get all the time, I don't like where my lights icon is on the screen. I'd like to move it around. Can I do that? No, it's not like your iPhone or your Android. You can't press and hold and toggle to move icons around. They're pre-programmed, and that's where they're going to stay. Some of you might have a little 5-inch screen, like in the rear of your coach. Some of you might have two 7-inch color screens in your coach. It really just depends on the year and what version your software, what version your coach is. The module on the left, that's the mirror module, that's the Bluetooth one. So many of you would have that in your coach. That's local access via an app on your phone or tablet, so local access around the coach. The one on the right is the Eclipse. That one gives you local access, just like the Mira, and then with an internet source in your coach, you can have remote access to your unit. So that would be like an add-on, an aftermarket add-on that you could get through Firefly. Let me clarify something. The Eclipse, that module does not have like built-in Wi-Fi. It's just a module that you would be able to sync up to your Wi-Fi source through the app. So you would still need some kind of an internet source in your coach via a router or a hotspot, whatever it is you might use. Just a couple of the different circuit panels that you might have. The G6 panel, if you have this one, you know what it looks like and you know where usually it's located in a cabinet. It's got a black label on there that's going to tell you every single circuit that panel integrates with. Many of you will have this one right here, the G12. It's usually underneath a cabinet somewhere in the living room, kitchen area. So every single circuit that we integrate with will run through this power distribution panel. They've made it a little easier to find. There's usually a cabinet now that you can pull out enough to gain access to it. And then like your screen will be plugged into this. Your mirror module will also be plugged into this as well. You'll have battery powered and 12 volt wired switches in your coach. Those all communicate directly to the touchscreen. If you have some that are battery powered, it's a 2032 battery that just plugs into the back of the screen. How long does the battery last? I don't know. Do you carry a switch around with you all the time? It really just depends. I just recommend whenever you're at Walmart or Best Buy, whatever, just pick up a pack of 2032 batteries and keep them in your coach with you. These are they pop right off the wall. So there's just a wall plate and then these switches snap into that wall plate. So the switches pop off the wall. AC interface modules. Your coach has 2 AC zones. Each AC itself is going to have some kind of an interface module installed inside of that AC. They do that so that they can plug us in, and then they plug that into the AC itself. That's how we're able to communicate with that air conditioner system. So I tell techs all the time, if you change the AC out in the customer's coach, make sure you remove this and put it into that new unit, or we won't know it's there. It's just there as like a bridge between us and that Coleman Mach or Dometic, whatever it may be. You can't fix it with a hammer, you probably have an electrical problem. So this is actually, the top like 3 would be something that you could do as end users if you're having an issue. Like let's say some lights are acting funny or just not working. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a couple of troubleshooting things. The first one is, does the GUI and LC match? All right, well, what the heck is that and where do I find it? If I go to my settings page, that gear icon on my touch screen, lower left and lower right corner, I'll see a GUI version with a number, and I'll see logic controller version with a number. That's the software that's in the Firefly system. So the GUI is going to be the software that's the graphic user interface. That's the software that's in the screen. And then the logic controller version is going to be the software that's in whatever your main circuit panel is. So for a lot of you, it would be like your G12. We want those 2 numbers to match. They should match. Are there solid green net LED lights? Any hardware that's plugged into our network is going to have some kind of an LED indicator light. We always want it to be solid green. That means we can see it on the network and we can communicate with it. And there will be a slide that'll come up that'll show you possibly some other colors that you might run across. Have you done a 12 volt battery disconnect? Well, my lights aren't working. All right, let's go do a disconnect, at your 12 volt salesman switch. I have no idea where that is. I've had my coach for 2 years. I've never hit that button. Let's go do a 12 volt battery disconnect real quick. Typically, it will solve 90% of your perceived issues. At least 12 volts at the failed component. This is if you're getting more into the tech side. So you know where your G12 is. You have a light that's not working. You can identify which pin that light is. You check voltage. You're not getting at least 12 volts. Well, you know that's where your issue is. And then way down the list, because this would be more for, if you're comfortable doing it, fantastic. But we have points of termination on our network. We have terminating resistors, and each one of them, we want a reading of between 58 and 62 ohms of resistance. So 60 is perfect, but 58 to 62 on those points of termination. Our system uses it's the CAN bus system. So you're going to have typically you'll have 220 ohm terminators somewhere on the network. And basically what that's there for is to keep resistance from bouncing up against each other. There were points of termination. Basically, the signals would get all jumbled, and it would cause backfeed and resistance between the circuits. If you want to check power and ground, this is how you do it. If you're comfortable, if you have a voltmeter, you're just going to probe your power and ground at the same time. For resistance check, you would take your voltmeter, put it to your ohm setting, and then you would probe your CAN high and CAN low. So inside of our cables, you're going to see these cables, usually orange cables, running throughout our system. That's our main communication cables. You're going to have your power and ground, and then you're going to have your CAN high and CAN low. CAN high and CAN low is the main communication wires for the network. So this is just an example of what a party line might look like. We have our touch screen with a red T in parentheses. We move down, we have a few other things plugged in, and then we have our G12 that's got the red T in parentheses. So that tells me that that's my 2 points of termination in the coach. Any hardware that's terminated is going to have some kind of an identifying red T sticker on there, letting you know that that is a point of termination for the network. So some of the styles of terminators, and this is probably not something you would be able to locate because I have no idea where they would be installed. A lot of them are going to be that terminator drop tap, which is in the bottom in the middle right there, and that's just for longer runs of cable and to plug other things into. If your screen's terminated, it's just going to be something that's added to the back of the screen. In this instance, we have actually a switch that's terminated, and then we have an aircom that's terminated as well. So those will be your points of termination in this particular coach. If you're checking termination, power's got to be turned off to the entire coach, including shore power. So 12 volt killed, and we need to be unplugged. 58 to 62 is what we're looking for. If you're getting a reading anywhere outside of that, you probably have a short in a cable somewhere, a crimp or a cut. That 30-foot run of cable along the slide wall, over time that slide going in and out is cut or crimped that cable. One thing that is important that you can check as end users is if you're having like an intermittent connection issue, you'll find those connectors, those will be plugged into all of our hardware. Most important thing is where the black tab is on that connector, that's where we want the red power wire to start. So just think of it as the colors of the American flag, red, white, blue, and black furthest from that tab. They have to be in that order. So this is where you can check and make sure, are the wires all the way up against the base of that connector? Is there a wire that's gotten pulled out of there? So this is something that you as end users can check. Something you might possibly run across. If you see on this connector, my red and white wires are good, but look at my blue and black wires. When you press a button, there's a light at the bottom that'll light up. If it lights up green, you're good. If it's faint green or red, you probably need to change the battery in your switch. If it's not solid green, we're not communicating with it. Really, two simple rules. Rule number one, if it's not solid green, it's not going to work. And then rule number two is see rule number one. It's about as simple as I can make it. Those lights need to be solid green. Some of the different colors you might see, we've covered solid green. That's what we want. Let's say you have a piece of hardware and the light on it is solid red. That means physically it's there getting 12 volt power, but as far as we're concerned, it's not there at all. We can't see it on the network. And then maybe you'll see one flashing green and orange or flashing green. It's got an intermittent connection. So we see it on the network and then it falls off. So you're probably looking at a connector issue or an issue with the cable somewhere. All right, so we will kind of start going over what you can expect the Firefly system, your touchscreen, where you can find certain things and what those things do. Homepage will look pretty typical to this. You might have a couple other things. It really just depends on the programming and what kind of coach you have. But I'm going to have my tank readings. It's going to broadcast my temperatures, start and stop generator, and I'll have my house and chassis voltage that'll be broadcast there as well. My lights. So this will show me all the different lighting zones, all the different lighting circuits that we have. You might see some icons that have up and down arrows. Does everybody know what that means? Yeah, it's got the dimming function built in. So press and hold to brighten, press and hold to dim. One thing that a lot of end users don't understand because nobody showed them was that light master feature. So when you press and hold that on button, it's going to turn on every single program light in the coach at full bright. And then you can select what lights you don't want on. You can dim certain lights. When you touch the off button, what it does is it takes a snapshot of every light that was on and how it was on. So when you get back in your coach and hit the on button, those same exact lights are going to come on the way they were when you turned them off. So pretty cool feature. Some of you might have exterior master, and that'll be specifically for the exterior lights. If you just have something that looks like this, the exterior will not be part of the light master. They don't add that to the regular light master. That would be if you have like an exterior light master button. Your electrical page, AGS, you might have an inverter charger settings page as well on here. You might have solar power if you have that integrated with the Firefly system. This will give me my information. It'll show me what power source I'm plugged into, so 50 amp here. It'll show me my line 1 and line 2, what I'm getting off of the post, each leg. If you're not on 50 amp, let's say you're on 30 or 15, chances are you're probably only going to be getting information for one leg because you're not getting multiple legs of power coming from a 15 or 30 amp short. All right, we're going to talk about AGS. This is like the hardest thing for some people to understand how to use. And it's really pretty simple actually. So where it shows disabled, AGS disabled, I tap that button and it gives me this warning screen of death. Make sure you're in a well-ventilated area before you enable your AGS. You just press and hold that for about 3 seconds and then your auto gen's going to be enabled. All right, well Nick, my auto gen's enabled, but my generator never comes on. Chances are it's because you don't have any triggers selected. It doesn't know it needs to come on. So you'll have 2 triggers, HVAC load and low volts. Low volts is directly related to your house battery, and HVAC loads for your climate energy needs. We have to have at least one of those triggers selected for the generator to know it needs to come on. And then really, the rest of the other stuff on this page, outside of like the quiet start and stop time, is up to you as the end user. When do I want my generator to kick on? And then if you have the solar capabilities integrated with your Firefly system, you'll have another page like this for battery type. It'll show you how much you're getting from the solar panel, just some different information for you right there. All right, my climate control, pretty self-explanatory. I'll have whatever different zones, front, rear. If I have a mid, it'll show up on this page as well. So a question we get quite a bit is, my coach was 50 degrees, I got in it this morning, I set it to 70 and turned the heat pump on, and then my furnace came on. Well, good, it's supposed to. If your coach is 50 degrees and you're trying to warm it up to 70, that heat pump's not gonna do it. So that secondary heat source is gonna come on and not necessarily override it, but it's going to assist the heat pump to get it up to that optimal temperature. If your coach is 45 degrees and you try to turn the heat pump on, it's probably going to laugh at you. You're like, no, that's not happening today. So don't be alarmed if that happens. And then if you have your vent fans, press to power one up, hold to raise it, hold to lower it. Slides, bunks, awnings, lifts, whatever it may be, this is OEM liability. So whatever they ask us to do, whatever Renegade asks us to do is what we're going to do. If it's hop on one foot while rubbing your belly to extent what we're going to tell you to do. Don't shoot the messenger. Some of you would have leveling that would be integrated into the Firefly system, so you'll have a leveling button on your slides and awnings page as well. It'll take you to the equalizer leveling page. All right, so this screen right here for you is really important. This is the settings page. This is going to give me a ton of information. We'll go over a couple of the cosmetic things first. Screen brightness, that's pretty simple. You might have a slider, some of you might have a plus and minus button. That's just to dim or brighten the screen. Cleaning mode. This freaks people out. They think if they tap this cleaning mode button, it's going to wipe the programming out of the system. All it does is it locks the screen out for 15 seconds so you can clean it without triggering any icons. There's not going to be a Roomba that's going to come out and sweep your coach when you hit cleaning mode. And you're not going to wipe out programming. It's just going to lock the screen out so you can clean it. After 15 seconds, the screen will come back on. If you're not done cleaning it yet, just hit cleaning mode again and it'll lock it back out for another 15 seconds. Auto dimming. So if you have auto dimming enabled, after a set amount of inactivity time, that screen will go to sleep. There are some pre-programmed dimming functions in the screen, and these cannot be changed. So between the hours of 5 a.m. and 10:59 p.m., if that screen hasn't been used for 4 hours, it'll go to sleep. And then 11 p.m. to 5 a.m., it's 15 minutes of inactivity. So if you get up in the middle of the night, you're like, well, I don't have auto dimming enabled, so why is my screen not on? Because it's not supposed to be. And then you just tap anywhere to wake it up, and it'll come back on. All right, so we see that network diagnostics button, right? So let's say a light's not working. You're commanding your kitchen ceiling light to come on and nothing's happening. I would tap that network diagnostics button, and it's going to take me to a page that looks like this. It's going to show me everything that's plugged into the network. It's also going to show me any faults that I might have. I have a lot of faults here because when I took a picture of my screen, I didn't have any of this stuff plugged in. So the outputs button at the bottom, when I tap that, it's going to show me every single output that G12 would integrate with. Or if you have a G6, it'll be the same. So I'm going to identify my bed ceiling light's not coming on. I've told it to come on. I come here. Do I have a green circle next to it? I do. That tells me that's active. So the Firefly system is sending and receiving that information, but something is stopping it from getting to that light. Is it the light bulb? Is it the wire? I don't know, but at this point we can take this out of the equation and go to the actual component itself. So that's something that y'all can use for diag. That's a pretty simple step to take. So we see this red triangle. I've had a couple questions about that. Well, what do I do for that? Literally, if you see that red triangle, all you have to do is tap it, and it's going to take you to this page. That's going to show you whatever faults there might be. We don't know exactly what's going on. We just know that we're having an issue with if it's the aircon in your front AC. We've lost communication with that aircon. So the switch panel info button, remember all these switches in the coach are wireless. They communicate directly to the touchscreen. Even your ones that have 12 volt going to them, that's just there for power. So that's why some of them in your coach will stay backlit if there's 12 volt turned on, and then some of them won't. If it's battery powered, they won't stay lit up. If it's the 12 volt ones, they'll have the backlighting. Those all communicate directly to the screen. So let's say you lost pairing with one of your switches. what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit that switch panel info button, and it's going to pull up a screen that's going to look like this. It's going to show me every single switch in the coach. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press and hold the one that I want to pair, and then you're going to get a wireless switch panel pairing procedure page, and it's going to walk you through the pairing process. Start pairing, press and hold any two buttons on the switch, and then it'll show you that that pairing was successful. All right, the mobile app button, this is where I would go to identify which module I have in my coach, what the ID number is, and then what my PIN is. If you forget your PIN number, all you have to do is go to that mobile app page and it'll tell you what PIN you set for that device. Some people have asked about the Eclipse. That is available aftermarket. They're $850 the price for those. I do have some with me. The only thing is I would rather actually if we went the aftermarket sales route. So you can email or you can submit a ticket on Firefly because they're going to want to get your coach information and verify that that programming has been configured and set up for your particular coach. So you can email support and they can put you in touch with the aftermarket sales team, or you can go on the website and request that aftermarket information. We'll talk about this just a few more minutes. These are internally circuit protected, so they're really hard to blow up. Let's not dump a bunch of liquid on them. Let's not hook house and chassis or power and ground up backwards and walk away from it for an extended period of time. That's probably not going to work out real well. Buzz boards. Some of you have the True Tank system in your coach. That's the sonar-based tank readings. So instead of reading in thirds, they'll read in actual percentages. Not going to get too much into this, but this is kind of what those sensors will look like. You'll have one sensor in your fresh and gray tank, and then you'll have two in your black tank. So you'll have two in your black tank just in case, poo hits the fan and is there as a backup, basically is what that one's for. They look like this installed in the sensor. They're installed about 1/4 inch from the bottom of the tank. One thing I will tell you as end users, there has to be liquid at least covering the sensor, and there's got to be an air gap at the top of the tank. So what it does is it shoots the signal up. Wherever that liquid level is, it'll bounce off of that and come back down to the sensor, and that's how we get the reading. So if that thing is completely full, there's nowhere for that signal to bounce from. And if you don't have it at least covering the sensor, there's nowhere for it to go. So just a couple things to remember if you have this system in your code. If you do have the True Tank system, you actually have the capability to go to a tank diagnostic page. So like on the home screen of your main Firefly touchscreen, you can press and hold on any of the tanks, and it takes you to this tank diagnostic page. It'll show you if there's like a sensor error. It'll give you some information right there for you. The piece of hardware on the left, that's good. That's what we want it to look like. The right, not so much. That's not dirt, that's corrosion, because water and electronics have mixed well since the beginning of time. But if you see something that looks like that, you're going to need to replace it. There will be, once we get our website completely done, up and running again, completely finished, there'll be a support like QR code that you'll be able to scan, and that'll take you directly to the portal where you can submit like a support ticket, things like that, directly from your phone or tablet. All right, so let me just put this up there for another minute or two in case anybody needs to look at it again. That's good. Yes. Not if it wasn't originally integrated with, I mean, if your coach in the inverter charger, if you're able to change the battery from like AGM to custom to LFP, that'll give you the parameters to be able to integrate with those batteries. We're not going to tell you what that charge rate should be though. That's something you're going to have to get from the battery manufacturer. But that LFP or custom setting will give you the parameters to be able to integrate with those batteries.
I think the larger question to go on that is, so say my coach came with a magnet inverter and I want to change it over to a Victron, how, you can't do it.
Well,
Custom programming, that's not how Renegade expects.
yeah, it's custom programming that we would have to write. We would have to write specifically for that coach to be able to integrate with that inverter or whatever it may be, because our programming would have been set up. They wanted us to integrate with a magnet, so that's what we wrote the programming for. All right, and then here's the information again, if anybody needs it, and then we'll open up the floor for questions, answers. Yes.
Two quick things. The only time I ever had a problem was that there was a software upgrade that I needed to do. How do we know there's a software upgrade available so we know beforehand that our system will get ready to go down?
Yeah, we don't. So the way we look at software updates is you don't need to update it unless you're experiencing an issue. So it's not like we just send out mass software updates, because software is so different in each one of these coaches. So it would be one of those, if it's not broke, don't worry about it. If you're having an issue, that's when you would need to get in touch with us. And A, we've either already heard of this and developed a software update, or B, we have to test this to see if we can replicate it, duplicate it, and then write programming to correct it.
And secondly, I haven't had this problem, but it crossed my mind. If this goes down and you need to turn on your air conditioner, can you manually turn on your air conditioner?
I don't know if Renegade puts in manual overrides for their AC system. That would be a question for them.
Because that could be a bad, if this thing goes down and I know on the lights you can, there's light switches.
Right.
But
I don't know, like I said, I don't know if there's manual overrides. We're talking about a pretty rare scenario also, yeah. Who's next? Yeah, so tech support can actually email you the files and the instructions on how to format that onto the USB, and it gets done right in the back of the screen. And they'll send you like a video link, they'll send you all that, and you can perform the update right in the back of the screen. I think you were, yeah.
So you showed a solar control page.
Mm-hmm.
Should that be visible, or is that something I gotta go try to find if I had solar from the factory?
But it might not be integrated with the Firefly system though. Some of them have their own solar controllers, and they don't go through our Firefly system. Yeah. I mean, you can always, I'm sorry. So back here on that settings page, let me pull it up real quick. So that's actually a good question. On the settings page, you see where it shows you your floor plan? If you press and hold that for about 5 to 7 seconds, it actually takes you to a back end where there might be some options there Just because the options are there doesn't mean your coach programming is set up for it. But in your case, if it shows solar controller, you can enable it and then go and check. If there's nothing populated in that page, it's because we're not, yep, exactly. LP tank, it would be another example. If your coach has an LP tank, but it's not showing up with the rest of the tanks, it's just because it hasn't been enabled as an option.
Yeah, I'm going to show my ignorance right now.
Ah,
When you said about changing batteries,
uh-huh.
I'm really afraid of pulling that thing up because I don't want to break it.
So,
So how do you do?
I mean, it's really, you can take one corner, get one corner off, or I recommend going ahead and grabbing about halfway down, and then it's just plastic tabs for each corner of the wall switch. If you were to break a tab off, they're literally probably $10 to replace. So, yeah, it's not anything that's going to be irreparable or, you know, extremely expensive or something you're going to have to take to a service center to replace.
Is there batteries also for the main module?
No,
Just the switches?
just the switches. Yeah, everything else is just 12 volt from the house.
But we don't care for the tank sensors that are not very accurate. Is there ability to change the tank sensors?
No. So, and the reason why is because I don't care if your tank is shaped like a stop sign. That's how we calibrate and program for it at the factory. So, and it's just because of the way that the sensors react with, so it can be, like I said, it could be misshaped, it could be whatever. You probably have readings in thirds, is that what you have? Yeah, you have the probes. You could possibly get in touch with sea level, and then we can do a custom program for your coach, and then you get the stuff from sea level and do it that way. Or you can just get the remote, you can get the controller from sea level and take it off the system completely. But yeah, you can work with us and sea level on integrating their product in your coach.
I think where does custom programming, what's a typical price for a simple custom program?
All over the place. It really just depends. So like the sea level is probably around like $1,200, $1,250 to do that. I mean, if you're talking about changing inverters, we could be looking at $3,500, $4,000. It really just depends on what goes into that, and if we've done it for maybe another, if we have some idea of where to go with it, and not starting from scratch. Okay, well, do you? Yeah. So that switch panel info button, when you tap that button, it's going to take you to a page that looks like this. So let's say I need to pair my bath switch. What I'm going to do is I'm going to press and hold on that bath for about 5 to 7 seconds. And then your screen is going to come up with a wireless switch panel pairing procedure page. You hit start pairing and just any 2 buttons on the switch itself. And then it'll show you that the pairing was successful.
Like my, the app is pretty hard on the battery life.
When was the last time you have you done an app update? Yep. All right, I'll have to take that back to my app team because I know that they were working on something to prevent it from draining the battery. I don't know why it was doing that, but I have heard that quite a bit, and I thought they were working on an update for that.
So on your diagram there, like bid entry is not clear.
Right.
It's already.
Right. Yep.
What was the question?
Just that on the diagram, she was asking, so the bed entry is not paired and the bath one is, correct? And yes, it is. So I have my strength and I have my green showing that the bath was paired, but nothing else is. Okay, let me get over here first and then I'll come back to you.
So on the mobile app, everything seems to work all right.
Okay. Have you done an app update? I would recommend emailing support with your coach information. So anytime you have to get in touch with tech support, either by email or via phone, or if you send a support ticket, I would always have a picture of this settings page. Attach that to the email, or just have that ready. Because I have a 2022 Valencia. Okay, congratulations. That doesn't give them any of the information they need. What they need to know is the software and the floor plan of your coach. So if you have a picture of that settings page ready when you contact them, it's going to get the ball rolling a lot faster. Okay.
Our generator starts from the platform. Usually after you turn the engine on, very well first. Like other generators, they have to have
So his question was to start the generator from the Firefly system, he has to turn the manual on switch on the generator itself.
Well, not only that,
Oh,
but there's a switch at the door.
a switch at the door? I've never heard of that either. I would probably bring something like that up with like Merv or Kirk, because I've never heard of that before. Now you should.
A little bit more about the MGS, just so I understand. So basically, understand the two triggers are whether it's blinded or
Mm-hmm.
and you also have the ability to set up blind out.
Yes.
If you have a trigger during the sequence of blinded or blind hours,
Quiet. Okay, so his question was, on the AGS, would like a trigger override the quiet hours? No. During that quiet time, that generator will not come on, not from us, unless you were to manually turn it on. The AGS, the auto gen, will not kick it on during that quiet time. I think there was somebody first, I think. We'll go. It's gonna be once. Okay, so his question was if he's at a campground that's got different quiet times for the generator, can you set up like incremental things on the Firefly system? You'd only be able to set one. So like quiet time starts at 11 o'clock and ends at 6. That would be. Or I mean, you can change it through different points of the day if you want to do that, but you can't set more than one. Yeah, his question was, is there something that we can provide for a specific like floor plan coach that would show what custom programming might have already been done? No, because it's all custom. So you might have a coach, a 40 VRB, but it might be a GUI version, Logic Control version 5. And then we have a 40 VRB that's a V7. We might have done something for the V5, but not for the V7. So it's all that is what it is. We will have prices, certain prices for certain things, and then for other things, it's really, what do you want done? How long do you want to wait for it? And how much do you want to pay? I think right here.
You mentioned about the connector of the AC and changing that.
Uh-huh.
Those on anywhere else or?
No. I think the AquaHot is already RVC compatible, so it just plugs right. They plug us right into the AquaHot, or there might be an AquaHot controller that they plug us into. Okay, who's next? You're next. Okay.
So, manual is for sometimes on that call. Generally on the app, like our app, it does not show the current status of the AquaHot, diesel or electric. If it's on, it doesn't show that it's on. I can hit it and it just goes on and turn it off. I can turn it off and on, but if it's already on, the app doesn't show that it's on. Even if I turn it on by the app and go out, and that one doesn't know that it's on. Is that something I should just escalate?
That would be something that would have to go through support through the app team.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and take a 7-minute break.
Oh, yeah.
For that presenter, so thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nick. Thanks for being here. Okay, so we're going to take a break until 10, and then at 10, the guy from AquaHot is here.